Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you something special, a fully working sci-fi survival RPG that I built entirely inside Google's AI Studio using Gemini 3. The project is completely open source, and you can explore it yourself, copy the entire setup, or modify anything you want. The link is in the description. This is Neural Frontier, the Void Logs, an infinite AI-generated text adventure where every single story beat, every image, and every voice line is produced in real time. Each playthrough is unique, and you shape the narrative through the choices you make at every step. Here on the left, you can see the full starting prompt that powers the entire engine. I'll scroll through it so you can pause and read it if you want. And on the right is the intro screen of the app, the boot sequence that starts the whole experience. Once I hit the button and switch to full screen, we'll dive directly into gameplay so you can see how the story, visuals, and voiceover are generated live, turn by turn. All right, let's jump in and connect to the Void.
System reboot complete. You blink awake, the static hiss of a defunct data chip your only companion. The air tastes of ozone and rust. Your vision flickers, a persistent glitch in the reality around you, showing phantom structures over the crumbling concrete. You're sprawled amidst the skeletal remains of what was once a multi-story parking garage, now a twisted monument to decay. Dust motes dance in sickly green light filtering through holes in the warped ceiling. A low, guttural moan echoes from deeper within the structure, followed by the wet thud of something heavy dragging itself across broken rebar. It's close, too close. Your scramble for cover puts you behind a crumbling concrete barrier, dust stinging your eyes. Through a gap, you observe the derelict processing plant. A squad of 3 reclaimers, heavily armored, scavenged military gear, moves through the rusted skeletal remains of machinery. They operate with brutal efficiency, their pulse rifles scanning the shadows. One of them kicks at a twitching, half-melted glimmer mutant, its bioluminescent organs flickering before going dark. They're searching methodically. You're unseen, for now, but your position is temporary, and their patrol route suggests they'll be sweeping your direction soon. The air hums with the static of their comms, a low, guttural chatter. Your vision flickers, then locks. The phantom hostiles you perceived melt back into the static, revealed as mere echoes in the shifting light of Glitch Gulch. A minor system recalibration, or just the zone toying with your perception. The immediate threat passes, but the air still tastes of ozone and rust, and a low, resonant hum vibrates through the cracked concrete beneath your boots. Ahead, the path through the skeletal remains of a collapsed comms tower is a labyrinth of warped metal and flickering streetlights that illuminate nothing but the void between realities. The silence is heavy, punctuated only by the distant, wet thud of something moving in the deeper shadows to your left. You are alone, but not unheard. You push past a corroded metal beam, the air thick with the stench of decay and something acrid, like burnt circuitry. The source of the wet thud resolves itself into a grotesque form, a crawler mutant, its skin stretched and glistening over exposed muscle, too many limbs scrabbling against the grimy floor. It's feasting on what looks like a half-consumed zone scavenger, the scav's tattered gear scattered around. The crawler's head, an eyeless mass of chitin, twitches, sensing your presence. Its mandibles click, a sound that grinds against your teeth. It hasn't seen you yet, but it knows something is wrong. Its attention is divided between its meal and the unseen threat that is you. You move with a hunter's caution, your retreat silent, a ghost in the glitching landscape. The phantom hostiles, mere echoes in the shifting light of Glitch Gulch, dissipate behind you, their threat fading with distance. The static hiss in your ears lessens, replaced by the grating crunch of your boots on shattered concrete. You emerge from the gulch into a desolate stretch of what was once a grand highway, now a skeletal ruin. Twisted rebar claws at a sickly green sky, collapsed slabs of asphalt forming treacherous peaks and valleys. The air here is heavy, thick with the scent of ozone and decay, but the unsettling silence is periodically broken by a faint, rhythmic thump, thump, thump vibrating through the ground. The abandoned highway is a graveyard of twisted metal and shattered dreams. Rusting husks of civilian vehicles fused into grotesque sculptures by some ancient unknown energy surge line the cracked asphalt. You pick through the wreckage, the metallic tang of decay thick in the air. A sudden flicker of movement catches your eye near the remains of a bus. Not a glitch, but the gaunt, elongated form of an infected scavenger, its head twitching, digging through the debris, oblivious to your presence. Your scavenging has brought you to its hunting grounds. You execute the lure flawlessly. The scraping, wet sounds of the infected retreat, drawn by the distraction. Their hulking, grotesque forms vanish into the processing plant's skeletal structures, leaving an eerie silence. You approach the bus's former position, finding only gouged concrete and a fresh, viscous smear trailing away. The bus is gone, dragged or self-propelled into the deeper gloom. The wet thud wasn't a fall. It was the sickening sound of something massive being moved. A faint, rhythmic pulse vibrates through the cracked floor, coming from deeper within the plant. It feels alive. The viscous trail leads you into the heart of the derelict processing plant, past shattered vats and corroded machinery that hums with a faint, dying energy. The air grows heavier, thick with a metallic tang mixed with the cloying sweetness of rot. Ahead, a large, pulsating mass of organic matter, vaguely humanoid, twitches between two mangled conveyor belts. It's an elite infected, its skin a sickly gray, scarred by what look like rapid cellular degradation. Its limbs are elongated, ending in razor-sharp bone spurs, and its head a malformed knot of sensory organs. It's feeding on something, a half-dissolved corpse, its guttural slurping echoing through the cavernous space. It hasn't seen you yet, but the stench of its meal is overwhelming. Your weapon barks, a harsh report echoing through the skeletal remains of the processing plant. The round impacts with a sickening thud, tearing into the distorted mass of an elite infected. It stumbles, a wet gurgle escaping its broken maw, but it's not down. Its remaining eye, a milky orb in a landscape of ravaged flesh, swivels to lock onto you. More scraping sounds follow, too close. The lure bought you seconds, not safety. The air crackles with the stench of ozone and decay, and the floor vibrates with heavy, uneven strides. The grenade screams through the air, a metallic shriek, before a concussive blast rips through the corroded interior of the processing plant. Shrapnel tears into brittle pipes and rusted plating, sending a shower of sparks and debris across the floor. The faint, dying hum of machinery falters, then recovers, but the path ahead is momentarily cleared of shadows. The echoes of the explosion reverberate, a crude alarm call that will undoubtedly draw unwanted attention. The air thickens with dust and the acrid smell of burnt chemicals, mingling with the plant's inherent stench of decay and something else, something organic. You move deeper into the processing plant, the metallic tang of dried blood and ozone clinging to the air. Twisted conduits sag from the ceiling like ruptured veins, casting fragmented shadows that dance with the erratic flicker of emergency lights. The silence here is unnatural, too deep. Then you see it. A hulking, hunched form, half obscured by a stack of collapsed bio-waste vats. It's not an elite, not exactly, More like a composite, a grotesque fusion of mangled flesh and scavenged tech, twitching with an unsettling, preternatural awareness. Its head, a misshapen mass of bone and scarred synthetic plating, slowly rotates, two pinprick red optical sensors fixing on your position. It's heavily armored, crudely, with sheets of riveted metal and what looks like rebar. It snarls, a sound like grinding gears, and begins to lumber forward, surprisingly fast for its bulk. The concussive blast from the grenade rips through the corroded interior, showering you with dust and metal shards. Your ears ring, the air thick with ozone and the acrid stench of burnt circuitry. Through the settling haze, the processing plant's skeletal remains shudder. Your rapid scan confirms it. The blast, while tearing into the elite, has also compromised a bank of jury-rigged power capacitors embedded in the wall behind it. They spark violently, arcing blue electricity, groaning under a strain that promises a secondary, more volatile discharge. The elite, a mangled silhouette, stumbles. Its movements now jerky, but its guttural snarl remains, eyes still burning with feral intent. It's hurt, but not broken. The unstable machinery is a ticking clock, and the smell of ozone intensifies. Your weapon barks, a harsh report echoing through the skeletal remains of the processing plant. The round impacts with a sickening thud, tearing into the elite's already mangled form. It twitches, a high-pitched gurgle escaping its throat as it collapses, limbs thrashing in a final grotesque dance before going still. The metallic tang of dried blood and ozone thickens in the air, a grim testament to the fight. The grenade screams through the air, a metallic shriek before a concussive blast rips through the corroded interior of the processing plant. Shrapnel carves new scars into the already ruined machinery, and the elite's twitching ceases. You move deeper into the processing plant, the metallic tang of dried blood and ozone clinging to the air. Twisted conduits sag from the ceiling like severed veins. The silence that follows is heavy, broken only by the drip of stagnant water and the distant, grinding hum of the plant's dying systems. Another threat? Neutralized. For now. You kneel, the metallic tang of drying blood already mingling with the elite's foul organic stench. Its body is a twisted knot of muscle and bone, the uniform torn by whatever internal horrors reshaped it. Your hands, already grimy, search quickly, not daring to linger. You pry loose a half-empty magazine for your assault rifle, 7 rounds, maybe 8, and a single unsealed auto-injector. The liquid inside is a cloudy orange, unsettling but potentially vital. The silence that follows the skirmish is heavy, punctuated only by the drip of unseen fluids further in the plant's depths. You grip the auto-injector. It's a crude, scavenged piece, the plastic casing scratched and grimy. Inside, a viscous, unsettling green liquid churns, barely contained. A faded, half-scratched label attempts to read Biostim, adaptogen. The air in the derelict processing plant still hums with the recent concussive blast and the echo of your weapon's report. Dust motes dance in the weak, grimy light filtering from a collapsed section of the roof. From deeper within the skeletal remains of the plant, a faint, wet scuttling sound echoes, growing subtly closer. The biostim hits like a sledgehammer to the chest, a brutal, invigorating burn spreading through your veins. The metallic tang of its chemicals coats your tongue, momentarily overriding the grit and blood. Your ears still ring, but the fog in your vision recedes, replaced by a hyper-aware tremor. The elite's twitching stops, its monstrous form a grotesque monument to your survival. The silence that follows is heavy, punctuated only by the drip of unseen fluids and the distant, grinding hum of the plant's dying mechanisms. You're alive, for now, but the zone rarely gives without taking. You drag yourself deeper into the rusting carcass of the processing plant, the echoes of your last fight still vibrating in the air. A twisted rebar skeleton provides a brief illusion of cover, offering a moment to catch your breath. The auto-injector's green burn still races through your veins, a temporary truce with the pain. Your pack feels lighter, a grim reminder of expended resources. The zone never truly lets you rest. Every shadow seems to writhe. Every groan of shifting metal sounds like another elite closing in. The air here is thick with the scent of ozone and decay, a constant irritant that grates on raw nerves. The biostim hits like a sledgehammer to the chest, a brutal, invigorating burn spreading through your veins. The metallic tang of its chemicals coats your tongue, forcing a ragged cough. The pain in your side dulls to a persistent ache, and the tremors in your hands subside slightly. You're not whole, not by a long shot, but the immediate threat of bleeding out is pushed back. The air here in the derelict processing plant is thick with the scent of ozone, decay, and something else, something vaguely organic, like scorched meat and rusted metal. Distant, guttural sounds echo from deeper within the complex, a grim reminder that one elite is rarely alone. Your scavenged supplies are dwindling, each dose a calculated risk. The structural groan of the plant is punctuated by a rhythmic, heavy thudding from deeper within the corroded maze. The air here is thick with the stench of ozone and decaying metal, a metallic tang that scratches at your throat. Overhead, a single, sparking conduit flickers erratically, casting grotesque, shifting shadows that make the rusted machinery seem to writhe. You pass through a collapsed doorway, rebar teeth gnashing at the empty air, revealing a vast, cavernous chamber. It's an arena of forgotten industry, dominated by a hulking, silent turbine, its blades frozen in a perpetual scream. The thudding intensifies, closer now, resonating through the very floor beneath your worn boots. Whatever is making that sound, it's large and it's moving. You move through the shadows, your hand tracing the cold, rusted hull of the massive turbine. Dust motes dance in the sickly light filtering through grimy windows. Your fingers brush against a loose panel, and beneath it, a small cache. Two ancient, barely functional power cells and a few rounds of depleted slug ammo. Not much, but enough to keep going. As you secure the meager findings, a low, guttural growl rips through the silence, echoing from deeper within the structure. A shadow detaches itself from the gloom, unnaturally fast, its silhouette too large, too angular. An elite, its limbs twitching with violent energy, has found you. You wedge yourself deep between two defunct turbines, the rust-eaten metal groaning a silent protest. The rhythmic thudding becomes a guttural, dragging sound, drawing closer. It's not machinery. The air thickens, a foul, metallic stench burning your nostrils. A hulking, grotesque mass lurches into the chamber, its form shimmering, parts phasing in and out of reality, leaving ghosted afterimages. This is an elite class aberration, a glitch beast. Its eyes, fragmented and malevolent, scan the decaying space. It sniffs the air, its head twitching, its heavy gait shaking the very floor. It's close enough to taste your fear, to hear your ragged breathing. You hurl a heavy, rusted gear into the abyss beyond the turbine, a metallic shriek reverberating through the chamber. The rhythmic thudding stops. For a moment, only the groan of the dying plant fills the void. Then, a new sound erupts, a frantic, skittering rush, amplified by the cavernous space. It didn't lure it away, it alerted it. You catch a glimpse of a multi-limbed, chitinous forer scrambling over shattered machinery, its speed horrifying, its trajectory undeniable. It's coming for the source of the noise. It's coming for you. Your fingers, slick with grime, work the unresponsive console. Sparks spit from a corroded contact as you force the ancient power conduit. The smaller turbine grinds, a high-pitched whine echoing through the chamber, momentarily drowning out the rhythmic thud. It's a crude distraction, a desperate gamble. The guttural dragging sound immediately picks up pace, drawing closer, faster than before. The whine peaks, then dies, replaced by a low, mechanical shudder that rattles the very plates you hide behind. Whatever is out there heard you. It's moving for the sound, for you. You scramble from between the turbines. The sudden, absolute silence after the metallic shriek is more unsettling than the prior thudding. Your boots crunch on a carpet of shattered ceramic and spent casings as you burst into a wider main conduit. The air here is thick with the metallic tang of ozone and decay, an oppressive weight. Ahead, the conduit terminates in a fractured bulkhead, sparks spitting erratically from severed conduits. A low, distorted growl echoes from behind the bulkhead, closer now and subtly different from the earlier sound. The distraction bought you moments, not safety. Something else is here, or the elite has adapted. You duck into a small auxiliary chamber, the darkness absolute save for a faint, sickly glow from phosphorescent lichen on a rusted control panel. The air is a choking mix of ozone, decay, and something else, a sweet, putrid tang that makes your stomach clench. Your boot crunches on splintered bone. Through a hairline crack in the warped bulkhead, you glimpse the vast turbine chamber, now utterly silent. The thudding stopped, but the silence feels like a predator holding its breath. You sweep your failing headlamp across the conduit walls. Rust flakes like dead skin, falling into stagnant puddles reflecting nothing but your own strained reflection. A faint, sickening sweet odor mixes with the tang of ozone from the recent spark. Behind a collapsed service panel, you discern a small, dark opening, a maintenance crawl space, long forgotten. A glint of something synthetic and military-grade catches the light within. But from its depths, a low, wet hiss begins, almost imperceptible at first, then growing. A sound like a leaking pressure valve, or something breathing. Your weapon snaps into position, the cold steel a grim comfort against your palm. The phosphorescent lichen on the rusted control panel casts an eerie, pulsing green light, barely illuminating the narrow tunnel entrance you're covering. The absolute silence from moments ago shatters as something heavy scrapes, then sprints into the annex. Not one, two, hulking, chitinous forms, moving with unnatural speed despite their bulk. Their eyes, or what passes for them, reflect the sickly glow with predatory intensity. Elite infected, fast, brutal, and now here in this cramped space. Their guttural growls vibrate through the dust-choked air, a promise of tearing claws and rending teeth. You are exposed, and they are closing the distance with terrifying efficiency. The grenade sails, a dark promise of fire. It detonates with a concussive roar that rattles the very structure of the conduit. Shrapnel screams, tearing into rusted pipes and sparking against corroded rebar. One of the elite, caught too close, is ripped apart in a shower of black ichor and twisted biomatter. But the others, unnaturally quick, are already scrambling, using the blast's blinding flash to reorient. The air chokes with metallic dust, smoke, and the acrid tang of explosives. The tunnel entrance is now a chaotic mess of shattered grating and warped metal, temporarily impassable. Your ears ring, and the disorientation is a cold claw in your gut. Your failing headlamp sweeps arcs of dim light across the conduit's internal skeleton. The scan registers nothing but structural fatigue and 1,000 years of accumulated grime. No emergency panel, no hidden vent. Only endless, corroded pipework and the shimmer of stagnant water. But as the beam passes over a particularly large, collapsed section of grating, you catch a brief, unsettling, iridescent glint. It's too quick to identify, a fleeting reflection from something small and fast, vanishing into the shadows just beyond the oily puddles. It wasn't your reflection. The air grows heavy, a faint, acrid scent now noticeable above the usual rot. The conduit's metallic shriek from the grenade's detonation still rings in your ears, a phantom echo as you approach the collapsed grating. Twisted rebar and shattered plasteel form an impossible tangle, jagged teeth pointing inward. The air here is thick with ozone and the sickening sweet tang of cooked biomass, the remnants of whatever endured the blast. A faint chitinous rustle issues from the darkness beyond the mangled barrier, too deliberate to be the wind. You detect a faint, high-pitched whine, almost imperceptible over the lingering ringing in your head. You brace yourself, gritting your teeth, and put your weight into the rusted grating. Metal shrieks in protest, a sound that grates on your nerves as much as the metal itself. With a final, agonizing groan, a section of the grate tears free from its mounts, bending inward just enough to reveal a tight, dust-choked crawl space beyond. The air that spills out is stagnant, thick with the scent of ozone and something else, something organic and sickly sweet. A faint, chitinous scuttling echoes from the darkness within, too slow to be a rat, too deliberate to be a collapsing pipe. You force your frame through the jagged maw of the collapsed passage, metal scraping against your gear. The air thickens, heavy with the scent of ozone and something rotten, organic. Your headlamp's beam carves a feeble path through the oppressive darkness of the new chamber. Walls here aren't steel, they're coated in a viscous, pulsating biogrowth, a tapestry of gray-green tendrils that seem to breathe. The faint, rhythmic click-click-click you heard earlier is clearer now, closer. It sounds like chitin on stone, like a predator patiently cleaning its mandibles. You're deep within the plant's necrotic core. You push closer to the glistening mass, your headlamp's beam barely penetrating the fungal gloom. The biogrowth isn't inert. It pulses with a sickening internal rhythm, tendrils slowly retracting and extending as if breathing the toxic air. Your scanner, already struggling with the zone's interference, flickers. It registers a high concentration of airborne spores, invisible to the naked eye, a fine mist coating everything, including your exposed skin. The conduit walls here are almost entirely consumed, the metal groaning under the parasitic weight. The conduit walls here are almost entirely consumed, the metal groaning under the parasitic weight. The conduit walls here are almost entirely consumed, the metal groaning under the parasitic weight. A low, chitinous scraping sound echoes from deeper within the growth, just beyond the reach of your light. Something is moving within the biomass, not of the biomass, but inhabiting it. The stench of decay and something sickly sweet grows potent, clawing at your throat. This isn't just a patch of mold, it's a living, breathing ecosystem of rot, and you've just stuck your face in it. The flare erupts, a searing eye in the perpetual twilight. Bioluminescent tendrils shriek a silent, sickening sizzle as they incinerate, coiling into char before dissolving into a choking cloud of acrid smoke and countless airborne spores. Your lungs burn, your eyes water, but the path ahead is cleared, a jagged maw leading deeper into the biochamber's corrupted heart. The inferno casts dancing, monstrous shadows, illuminating grotesque, mutated machinery fused with fungal growths, but also turning you into a beacon in the oppressive gloom. The fire crackles, a loud, undeniable announcement of your presence. You force your frame through the jagged maw of the collapsed passage, metal scraping against your gear. The air thickens, heavy with the scent of ozone and something rotten, organic. You stumble into a vast, disused biochamber. Hulking vats, rusted and ruptured, leak viscous, glowing fluids onto the grimy floor, reflecting the faint, corrupted light from flickering overhead panels. Along one wall, what remains of a control console sparks erratically, its data corrupted beyond recognition. A skeletal hand, fused with the metal, reaches out from the tangled biomass that has consumed a long-dead researcher. The silence here is unnerving, broken only by the drip of unknown fluids and a faint rhythmic thrumming from deep within the chamber. This place feels like a tomb, yet also like a womb for something terrible. You approach the charred remains of the researcher, a grotesque silhouette against the flickering, dying embers of the incinerated tendrils. The stench of burnt flesh and ozone chokes the air, mingling with the sweet, sickening decay of the biochamber. The body is a husk, but a datapad is clutched in its skeletal hand, its screen cracked but still glowing faintly, displaying fragmented schematics and frantic journal entries. A small sealed pouch is tucked into a scorched vest pocket. The air still crackles, a low hum suggesting the biomass isn't entirely dormant. Your fingers close around the cold, metallic edges of the datapad. Its screen flickers to life, displaying fragmented logs. Quarantine breach, Sector 7, elite infected, containment failure, all personnel recalled. The sealed pouch yields a single glowing vial of spores and a handful of stale military-issue rations. As you secure the items, a low, guttural growl reverberates through the fungal growth, vibrating the very air. Something large, something fast, is moving in the shadows beyond the faint bioluminescence. Its heavy, wet thuds draw closer. The ozone scent in the air now tainted with the sickly sweet odor of decay and adrenaline. You are not alone. The stench of ozone and scorched biomass clings to the air, thick and cloying. The flare's afterglow paints grotesque shadows on the crumbling machinery, illuminating the researcher's husk, a silent testament to the tendril's brief, furious existence. Your weapon is heavy in your grasp, the silence stretching taut, a frayed wire about to snap. Then a low, guttural click. From the deeper gloom, where shadows writhe like unseen currents, a creature emerges. It moves with a sickening speed, a blur of distorted limbs and glistening chitin. An elite stalker, drawn by the conflict, by the fresh scent of death. Its head, a malformed mass of sensory organs, twitches, locking onto you. It's fast, it's hungry, and it's closing the distance. Your weapon barks, spitting a short, desperate volley of lead. The elite stalker, a blur of twitching muscle and bone, reacts with impossible speed. It doesn't just dodge, it twists, a sickening contortion that makes the rounds chew air where its head had been a nanosecond before. A guttural shriek tears from its throat, a sound that grates against your sanity. It closes the distance in a horrifying lunge, claws tearing at your arm, a searing pain blooming across your flesh. The biochamber echoes with the sickening wet impact and your ragged gasp. This isn't just an enemy, it's a living glitch in the fabric of reality, and it's fast. Your final rounds tear through the air, spitting brass. One slug impacts the writhing mass of mutated tendrils, making it recoil with an unholy shriek that grates against your sanity. The creature convulses, then collapses into a steaming, twitching heap, its bioluminescent sacs rupturing and spilling viscous, glowing fluid onto the grimy floor. The silence that follows is thick, broken only by the crackle of a dying short circuit in the chamber's ancient machinery and the faint, rhythmic thrum from deeper within the facility. The datapad in your hand still flickers, its fragmented logs a grim testament to the horrors that unfolded here. You force the datapad's flickering display to yield more. Contingency Protocol 7 Gamma, containment failure, genetic drift accelerated. Eliminate all non-authorized personnel. The text blazes red, then glitches, replaced by a proximity alert, a rapidly approaching signature behind you. The low growl you just dismissed as machinery static now reverberates through your teeth. It's no machine. It's close, and it smells the fear. Your datapad screeches, the ancient, corroded circuits fighting the ambient interference. The wide area scan flickers, painting distorted schematics across the cracked screen. You glimpse fragmented data, bio-overload imminent, and structural integrity critical. The elite stalker, though hit, is not down. Its tendrils twitch, lashing at the air, its movements erratic but accelerating. The shriek it unleashed echoes, distorting into a guttural growl that vibrates through the very floor. The scan also highlights a volatile energy conduit nearby, sparking erratically, clearly compromised. You dive behind a corroded nutrient vat, the impact jarring your spine. The elite stalker's shriek echoes, not of pain, but of pure, unadulterated rage. Its distorted form flickers at the edge of your vision, a predatory shadow amidst the pulsating bioluminescent growths that cling to the chamber walls. The air here is thick with the scent of ozone and decay, a grim cocktail of failed science and desperate survival. Your temporary cover feels paper thin. The grenade sails, a steel egg of contained fury, and detonates with a deafening crump. Shrapnel screams through the biochamber, tearing at ancient conduits and rupturing mutated sacs that burst with sickening wet sounds. The concussive wave rattles your teeth. For a split second, the oppressive silence returns, broken only by the drip of viscous fluids. Then, a furious shriek erupts from the shadows. The stalker, a grotesque mockery of humanity, is driven from its hiding place, twitching, its limbs scarred but intact. It moves with a predatory, broken rhythm, fixing you with glowing, malevolent eyes. It's hurt, but far from down. The air fills with the smell of ozone and burnt flesh. Your gaze sweeps the grimy biochamber from behind the shattered nutrient vat. The air is thick with the stench of decaying biomatter and ozone. Corroded conduits snake across the ceiling, some sparking erratically where the insulation has failed. A heavy industrial-grade pump, half buried in a pool of viscous glowing green sludge, hums with a dying breath in the corner. Above it, a massive rusted ventilator fan grinds, barely turning. The elite stalker, a blur of
The
twitching
rusted
muscle and
ventilator
razor claws,
grinds, a
is
tortured
methodically
shriek
tearing
of
apart
metal
the
on
vat's
metal as your
opposite.
frantic
Its
efforts
guttural
succeed.
snarls
With a
indicating it
sickening
knows you're
groan,
close,
the
just
ancient
not
machinery
precisely
tears
where.
free from its mounts,
Its movements
bringing
are
down a
too fast,
cascade of
too
structural
erratic for a
beams
clean
and
shot.
corroded pipework.
But the environment?
Dust,
It's a
biological
decaying mess,
residue,
a
and shattered
perfect trap
concrete